Good morning, everybody, or I should say good afternoon. I hope you all are doing well. Sorry it's been a late start for me today. The world has been kicking my butt today, and it's taken me a little longer than I thought to get going here. So, welcome. As promised, we're going to be talking about the American wellness system today, and I'm really excited about it. Hope you all are having a good day. And as usual, before we get started, just want to remind you that, you know, uh, I'm here rooting for you. God and I love you. And if you ever need somebody to pray for you, send me a little email or jump in the comment section, and I'd be happy to give you my attention. That being said, just as a reminder, we always start off with what manufactured suffering is, because that is the framework for which all of this hinges. And, just a reminder, it's a systemic creation and perpetuation of unnecessary hardship and inequality orchestrated as an expression of power and control over the masses by those in authority. So basically, another way of saying that is that the suffering that we all endure in our daily lives is on purpose, brought to you by, oh, who knows? It's either the elites, it's an outside force, or it's just complete incompetence. Um, yeah, I personally believe that we are fighting against a force outside of ourselves, and the elites and the political um, folks are really mid-level managers. The 1% are the mid-level managers. They're really working for something else, and it isn't for us. And so that being said, the idea of manufactured suffering is that that is a force, it's a system. Turn down a little space heater here, get picked up in the background. Anyway, is that, manufactured suffering is the system, it's a tool that is used to create suffering. It's on purpose, and um, we can create systems and policies and a way of life that will defeat this manufactured suffering and hopefully bring about peace and a new way of living for the 22nd century. Because I make no illusions that these ideas that I'm talking about, these are not things that just happen overnight. The ideas of these 365 revolutions of the planet are to get to know each other. So we can talk about what these systems are, to start a dialogue, because the elite neoliberal boomer class is on the way out. They've left us no plan, and they've left us, what, a $20 trillion deficit that we owe somebody, and we're going to have to pay that. Anybody who's under the age of 55, we are the ones that are going to have to pay the debt. The neoliberal boomer class, they're not going to be here. They pass this debt on to us, and they don't care. There's Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, it's all going to go bankrupt. They don't care. They will have gotten theirs, and we're going to be left with a big pile of nothing. And so that is one reason why I am putting all this out there. And I hope you will give it consideration and just think that, think about what the world could be instead of what it has been. We have today to make tomorrow better, and we have today to learn from the mistakes of yesterday. And so we can always go forward and have real dialogue with one another. And one of the things that, I hope that you all realize, and it kind of makes me a little upset, is that I'm just a nobody from nowhere. I have a high school education and all this stuff I've come up with on my own. And there are there's $1 trillion worth of education and public relation think tanks and all of these people, and what have they offered us? What have they given us? I mean, if nobody from nowhere can come up with these ideas, I mean, then surely the system has just created a perpetual cycle of manufactured suffering. They don't want to change this. They're not going to change this. And it's going to take some time to get the baton and to run our own race. And so I'm hoping very much so that we all will think about things and understand that we're the ones that are going to have to make our own future. And so, that being said, let's take it away. So I don't know why it's here. Well, here, sorry guys. There's a little space here down there. It keeps kicking on no matter how long I turn it down. Okay, so um, let me go ahead and switch this up. There we go. You should still be able to hear me. And yes, okay. So this is the American wellness system in a nutshell. Um, there's you at the center, and it's a pretty ingenious idea. And so um, you'll notice that the arrows are pointing up and down, and those are the two parts of the wellness system that you as a individual will come in contact with, the point of sale system and the healthcare provider. And the point of sale is anything that you buy, anything that adds to GDP. And you, of course, you being the human individual, doesn't exclude businesses. So if you have a business and you go out and you buy something, it's through a point of sale service. If you, the hedge fund manager, go out and buy a bunch of stocks, even though you're not doing it at a register, if you're increasing GDP, you will be. That is how we're going to collect the resources to pay for the healthcare system. Um, So, and then you'll see the downward arrow, which is the healthcare provider. So that would be your doctor, the testing, the pharmacy, anything that you, um, any contact that you would normally have with a healthcare provider is what that would entail. And so, I'm sorry, I'm doing something here in the background, trying to get all my stuff in order here. And so, just as a reminder, okay, and then over here on the left-hand side, you see the trust fund. Now, you'll notice the flow. So there's you in the middle, and you go to the store and you buy something, and a tax will be collected, a sales tax, and that money will be sent to the trust fund. And then the trust fund would then pay the healthcare provider. Then the healthcare provider would send information to a risk assessment semi autonomous nonprofit company. And and the way I envision it is there's just not one unibus. There would be, this would be an industry, and it would provide a lot of well-paying jobs, which would be paid for from the taxes collected. And so the risk assessment management companies would collect the cause and effect. So what they would be collecting is what the injury was, how it happened, and the cost. And then we're going to put all that into an algorithm, and it's going to determine that this type of injury, let's say football injuries. I always like to go back to the football injuries because it's something that it's easy to get your head around. So let's say you're in high school and you break your leg playing football, right? You go to the doctor and the doctor treats your broken leg, pardon me, wraps it up and sends you on your way. And then all of that information is collected and sent to the risk management company by the healthcare provider. And then over the course of a year, we're going to take all of the injuries that are associated from football and we're going to put that in a big pile. And we are then going to figure out how much that cost the healthcare system. And then a tax, which is set by the Risk Assessment Bureau, for lack of a better word, will be assessed, and that will be applied to everything that's football related. And so that means everything from football tickets to football gear to football stadiums to the costs that people pay to, like networks pay to broadcast football. All of that will there'll be a tax applied to all of that, and then that gets recouped and sent to the trust fund through the point of sale of you, whoever you is, whether it's a or are should say, whether you are a network or just a human citizen. And so it all works together. And so if you don't play football, if you don't watch football, if you don't like football for whatever reason, you won't ever come across the cost of that sport. And same thing with, you can basically apply that to um, to everything in our society. And here, I'm going to go ahead and switch off of this and let's see here. I think I got, there we go. Awesome. Hello, here we go. Okay, so we're going to start with the big picture here. And the big picture is this is just napkin math now. So let's see here. I just want to make sure. Okay, so all of the healthcare cost in 2022 was approximately $4.5 trillion. How about that? That's the cost of the doctors, the medicine, the surgeries, the hospital stays, the wheelchairs, the whole kit and caboodle. It's $4.5 trillion, which is about 17.3% of our GDP. So just to start, let's say we have to recoup $4.5 trillion in taxes from just the sale of everything that's sold. Right off the bat, that would be about an 18% tax on everything. Now that is a high tax. But the thing that you have to keep in mind about this, and it's similar to this principle is the same as Medicare for all, is that there would be no Medicare, there would be no Medicaid, there would be no workman's comp, there would be no payroll deductions. So when you look at your check, the only thing on there is going to, that's Mr. King crying in the background. Sorry, is that when you look at your check, there will be FICA, which is your federal income tax. Some states have state income tax, and that's it. And Social Security. Okay, there would be no other deductions on your pay stub. And so that's gone. What else is gone are deductibles and copays. So you won't have any more of those. You won't have any deductible you have to meet. You won't have any copays. There's no cost for prescriptions. There's no cost for wheelchairs, crutches, nothing. There's no cost for home healthcare delivery. There's nothing. You don't pay anything out of pocket for your healthcare unless you decide that you want private health insurance. That is still an option for you. But just know this, if you choose to get private insurance, you still pay the tax on everything you buy. So that's up to you. There's no getting out of this because the American wellness system is a comprehensive system to increase value for our society by creating health and wellness for our citizens. So, um, that being said, that's how we're going to recoup the money. Now, I understand that this may seem as a regressive tax. Poor folks, that's you're basically adding 20% on everything they buy. But that's not the whole picture. Okay, the the as we say here, okay, it's a variable tax rate. Okay, and the idea is that items and services that increase health will be taxed lower because that service or product is not adding to the healthcare cost of our society. So back to the orange and the candy bar scenario is that an orange is going to be taxed near zero, whereas a candy bar might have a 20% tax on. And it couldn't even be higher, especially when we get into like alcohol and cigarettes and high risk behavior, skydiving, or rock climbing. Um, I think you can see where I'm going with that. So it is a variable tax. So some items are going to be taxed less and some are going to be taxed more. So if you go to the grocery store and you are a low income worker, then you perhaps might decide to make better decisions on what you buy at the grocery store based on knowing that certain items are going to cost you less. And if you decide that you want to just eat Cheetos and red meat and candy and sugar and liquor, and if you want to make all of the wrong decisions for your health, then you will be reminded at the checkout that this is costing you more money. It's costing society more money because you will eventually, if you continue to eat that kind of diet, are going to get high blood pressure, diabetes, etc., etc. And it's going to cost the system more money to take care of you because of decisions that you made. So that's. Oh, hold on. Sorry, guys. The dogs might start to bark, so I might need to turn the mic down here for a second. Um, so that's that's the good part of it, in my opinion, is that not. Oops, turn the mic down real quick. Sorry about that. Okay. So the idea is that everything, all of the actions we do have consequences, and so this is the libertarian part of the American wellness system. This libertarians will love, because it's rewarding and punishing personal decisions you make. The other libertarian part of this that libertarians are going to love is just that if you don't participate in something, you are not going to be held responsible for that cost. And so that's personal choice. Um, so that's in a nutshell how we're going to pay for this and how the tax rate works. Now, you who's going to determine the tax? It's not the government, which is another thing that conservatives and libertarians are going to appreciate, because this are private citizens that are part of a nonprofit, private risk assessment management industry. And they are going to collect the data that's sent to them from the doctors. Now, the other thing that I want to be clear about as we discuss this is that the risk management company is not going to know your name and your address and who you are. There will be an advanced encryption technology that ensures that the number on your healthcare file no one in that risk management company is going to be able to attach that to you. Now, there will be a security measure, because sometimes as we get much deeper into the conversation, when we start talking about fraud and stuff, that the law enforcement will be able to reveal who that person is. But just for you as the individual person, just please keep in mind that your personal data will be secure, and nobody in the risk management company is going to be able to know who you are as a person. And so I just want to make sure that part of all of this is privacy, which I want to make sure that you the individual, aren't worried about, because that's not that's part of the system. So this risk management company, right? They're going to see patient XYZ, and patient XYZ comes in with a broken leg, like we talked about earlier, playing football. So they're going to be able to figure out, and whether you're playing football in your backyard, in high school, in junior high, or it's professional, that'll all very detailed, how it happened, why it happened, and then the cost. Hey, you have to set the leg. You got to, was it a compound fracture? Have your tendons torn? Yeah, all of that's going to be recorded, and then that total cost will be applied with all the other injuries for football, whether you get your eye poked out, you get, you hit your head, and you lose all your common sense. I can't remember what that's called off the top of my head, where your brain swells. All of that is going to be put into a yearly cost analysis, and then the tax will be applied on everything for football. So um, that's how that's the government, federal, state, and local, will have nothing to do with setting the amount of money that's charged at point of sale. No, sorry, that's Miss Capricorn. She's a barker. So that being said, what the state, local, federal government will do is collect the taxes from the point of sale service, just like they do now. like sales tax. When you go to the store, the government is great at collecting taxes. So that's what they're going to do. And then they're going to take that money and put into a trust fund. But we will get to that in just a moment here. So we'll go back up here to the top, and because remember, you are in the middle, and that's you. And so the thing to keep in, this is not a socialist policy agenda. Okay, the government is not going to assign you to a doctor. The government is not going to tell you what hospital you got to go to. The government is not going to tell you that you have to take a vaccine. The government is not going to tell you anything. That is between you and your doctor. And you will pick the doctor. Government will have nothing to do with that. Okay. Like I said, everybody, this is a year-long conversation, and I can't answer every question and touch on every single item in an hour. So just please, this is kind of an overview. It's a basic introduction on how this is going to work, and to kind of give you that this is like a completely revival of what healthcare can and should be, right? It is replacing profit for value. So please keep in mind, the American wellness system is about the value of healthy citizens for our country. Okay, so again, we'll start at the top. Okay, you are in the middle. You're the center of everything for the American wellness system. You have choice and freedom. Okay, individuals choose here. Let me go ahead and highlight this here. And actually, because my brother Daniel has asked me, let me go ahead and I think this should be, there we go. And then you don't have to look at my bald head while I talk. And yep, the mic's still working. Okay, so, oops. Here we go. Sorry about that. Okay, so individuals choose their doctors and treatments, and you will never be paying for a procedure which contradicts with your personal beliefs. So even though there's a sorry about that. Oh. Okay, so you even though there's a 350 million person healthcare pool, right? That because everybody in the nation is paying into the same pool. Like when you go and like that's one reason, like you take Walmart, for example, they're a huge company, they can provide lower prices for their health insurance company because there's so many in there. Now, if you want to take that and extrapolate it to our entire nation, instead of the system dividing all of this up into smaller healthcare pools, we're all part of the same healthcare pool, and we're all going to pitch in together and pay for our healthcare. Okay, so again, you pick your own doctor, pick your own hospital, and you pick your own treatments. If and we're gonna, like I said, everybody, this is a long, we're in this for the long haul. Okay, so there are no mandatory procedures. Okay, so if you are a Jehovah Witness, I believe that they don't. That there are certain things that they medically they do and don't do. Nobody's going to force you. Pardon me, to do anything and take any procedure that you don't want to. Okay, universal access. Now, this is part of the progressive part of it where progressives love this. Every single citizen will be insured. Every single citizen, whether you're homeless, in prison, low income, middle class, white, black, Hispanic, Latino, it doesn't matter. If you are an American citizen and you you will get health care on demand, and there is no out of pocket expense. You will get to it, you go to the doctor, you get your treatment, and you walk out. Imagine that. There's no credit card required. Now, and back to what the libertarians, you can still, if you want, get your own private health care. Okay, now I want to switch back to this one thing because this is important to me because there we go. Let's all acknowledge that that there are people who don't want to brush elbows with poor minorities. Okay, and I don't I don't want to antagonize wealthy people. Okay, but you have the right of free association. And so I want everybody to come on board and sit at the table for this discussion. And if you want to have, and I'm just going to be bold and say this, if you want to have a white only institution where you go, you can pay out of pocket in addition to the tax you're paying when you buy stuff. And you can go to whatever doctor, hospital you want to go to. But if you don't have private insurance and you go to a hospital, you are going to be going to like a regular public hospital that exists today. And that means is that we're all going to be rubbing elbows together. And I hope that that's a great thing. We're not going to have a two-tiered public healthcare system. Okay, we're going to have the best healthcare in the world. And if you want to opt out of going to a public institution, you should be allowed that. But that's going to cost you extra, and you can work that out on your own. And all of the medicines, all the doctors, all the people that you're going to receive through private insurance will not have any. It's not like it's plus extra, like plus plus plus. Okay, if you get your prescriptions from a private insurance hospital, all of that is negotiated just like it is today, right? Just the insurance industry is going to continue to operate as it does operate, but it will not get the benefit of all of the stuff that's provided by the American wellness system. Sorry, but it's not. And that's just the way it goes. So I think that's fair, but this is a discussion. I'm not like, Lord God sitting up on the mountain, right? But this is just how I see the American wellness system operating, is that we're all in this together, and if you choose to not want to be part of the public healthcare system, then you get none of the advantages of it. Sorry, but that's just. But you're completely capable of still getting private insurance. So I hope that helps. Let me switch back to this. All right. There's just another touch on example of how this works is that um, all this is down below in the description on my Substack page. It's all there for you to see. I'll be posting these graphs and a little bit more with some extra text on these later this afternoon. So there we go. Okay. So we kind of touched about the center circle, which is you, and part of the American wellness system is that this will save business a lot of money in respect that they, like when you pay in Medicare or Medicaid. I'm pretty sure that businesses have to match they pay extra into that. Workman's comp is gone, so they won't have that tax to pay for. Um, so I think that in the on the back end, business will be very eager to embrace the system. Now, I do want to go ahead and mention that this healthcare is used as a perk in a lot of negotiations, especially with unions. And I love unions. I'm a member of a union, and it's not to take the leverage away from the union. It's not leverage to take away from the golden parachute when negotiating with, because you can still offer extra insurance to people. Okay? This is about how we're paying for our healthcare services. And so anyway, that's so you in the center. Um, Freedom of choice, no mandatory procedures, universal access to private health care is still an option. Um, the So you go to the store, your taxes are collected. Um, they get sent to the trust fund. Um, Government collects it. The government is going to pay the healthcare providers out of the trust fund. Okay, so we're going to keep the risk management company separate from payouts, and we're going to keep the state, local, federal government away from determining the rate. So, um, just as another reminder here, that part of um, that I want to, one of the things that I was thinking about today is this system, the American wellness system, would have been much more difficult to implement 10 years ago. But with the advent of artificial intelligence and soon quantum computers, is that this kind of large scale data aggregation will be much easier to do. AI can efficiently handle and process extensive data sets from various sources, ensuring timely and accurate data collection. Okay, this isn't like, oh, it got the date wrong of World War One. Okay, this is concrete, this is counting. Computers are really good at that. Okay, privacy and encryption, sorry. Advanced encryption technologies ensure that personal information remains secure and private, only used um, um, anonymized and encrypted ID numbers. Predictive analytics. AI can predict trends, costs, and healthcare needs, allowing for proactive adjustments in tax rates and resource allocation. So AI is going to be very instrumental in the risk management companies being able to perform this task. Okay, streamlining administration. Automation reduces administrative burdens, making the system more efficient and less prone to errors. Real-time monitoring. Continuous data updates provide real-time insights, helping to maintain the integrity and accuracy of the system. Cost-effective operations. Technology advancements also drive down the cost of running such a system, making it more financially viable. Tax rate determination determines variable tax rates for products and services based on collect data, right? As we've touched on that earlier. So the idea is that The system is going to determine based on counting what things cost and how it's going to be collected. Reporting reports to determine tax rates to local, state, and federal governments. Okay, now as we get to the healthcare provider, right? Because you don't have any contact with the risk management company or the trust fund, just like you don't really have any contact outside of applying for Social Security, right? You mean that you once you are start getting the check arrives, and that's pretty much the end of that. Okay, so the healthcare provider, okay, the government or a designated body is going to negotiate the rates for doctors, nurses, and hospitals. Now, this is similar to how the um, the NHS operates, or how the government will negotiates prices, right? With that, the way it works now is that the insurance companies are the ones that negotiate those payments. Okay, well, we're going to replace that with either a third, like a sub branch of the um, of the risk management company, or it will be a like health and human services part of the executive branch. But like I said, this is a discussion. This is not set in stone. These aren't tablets given down from on high. This is just what nobody from nowhere has thought of, and is hoping that we can all have a conversation about this going forward, because this is a revival of what it means to replace value for profit for healthcare. And so, again, the healthcare provider, right, the doctor, right, is going to, you'll have nothing to do with this, will negotiate their payments with to be determined. And we'll go from there. Now, one of the other things that's going to be awesome about doctors that want to work in the American wellness system is just that for those doctors, and I know this word nationalized makes a lot of people like twinge, but the idea is that the malpractice insurance, okay, will be paid out by the federal government, just like the regular the in this system, the way that the doctors receive payments, the malpractice payments, or the insurance will come from the healthcare trust fund. And the important part of that is that if you as a person are injured by 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 a bad doctor, right? You should be able to receive compensation for that. Especially like if you're out of, put you out of work for 2 years, right? You lose your eyesight, you should be able to recoup a compensation for that. And so the idea is that what the reason we want to be able to ensure that people are able to um, sue or receive compensation for bad treatment is that we want to make sure that those doctors that are being bad are removed from the system, right? They need to go do something else, because we've all heard the stories about, you know doctors performing drunk, and not being on the game, whatever it is, whatever the reason why the doctor, nurse, institution, just just heard a story on a Sabby Sab about was a nurse that was evidently like hurting kids, like little preemie babies, like breaking their legs and stuff, and the hospital kind of knew. Well, those parents and those children should receive some compensation for that because that's not that was pain and suffering. And so, and we want to make sure that the hospitals, like that we're not going to protect doctors and nurses that are doing bad stuff because there's an inadequate amount of doctors and nurses, right? So we're going to address that as part of the American wellness system. Okay, so doctors are no longer going to have to pay an insurance premium for malpractice insurance. That's removed from the doctor, the nurse, the hospital. That is no longer something a doctor is going to have to pay for. So if you remove that malpractice insurance payment, which I understand can be quite excessive for doctors, then they will have to, then that should bring down cost overall because then the doctor won't have to charge as much because that is one cost that they don't have to incur. Also, the American wellness system will pay for all the student loan debt from doctors, nurses, healthcare practitioners. Now, we're going to, in the future, through part of my education idea, what we're going to do is this is that doctors and nurses, healthcare practitioners won't have to pay for their education. So in the future, this is going to disappear, like the loan forgiveness aspect of this, which will over time bring down healthcare costs. So just please keep in mind that I know that this is a big deal. It's good. It will add to the tax, but it will also lower healthcare costs because that it's one less cost that the doctor will have to, and nurse and healthcare provider will have to charge the healthcare system for because it's no longer part of their debt. So if we take away the malpractice cost and the student loan that they're paying for, that will in itself bring down cost. Now, also part of what I've thought about is that this is a quality of life issue for doctors and nurses and healthcare providers, in that I would imagine that there might be a doctor out there or a nurse that only wants to work 40 hours a week and might only want to take care of 100 patients a month. And the idea is that you will have a minimum amount of patients and a maximum amount of patients that one doctor, because it's 24 hours in a day, can see and take care of well. And so in pie in the sky, in my thinking is that if you were paid, like I'm just pulling this number out of thin air. So it's all, if you were paid $100 per patient that you were taking care of a week, a day, then if you had a pool of patients, let's say you had 100 patients, or let's say you had 1,000 patients that you chose to take care of, and you were paid, that's $100,000, right? A year. Remember, you don't have any malpractice insurance, you don't have any student loans, and I would assume that 1,000 patients a year is some weeks you might be more busy than other weeks, because if you're only taking care of 1,000 patients, and you know, and that's your health, that's the number of patients you take care of, then I mean, not all. I mean, that's what they're 52 weeks. You do the math, right? And so I would imagine cold and flu season, they probably see more patients than normal. But that the idea is that you should be able to adjust the number of patients depending on how busy you want to be as a doctor. Now, I don't know if this is possible, but this is just part of like kind of like the carrot to get doctors on board to the American wellness system, because it's just not the patient that we're trying to take care of, it's the doctors too. And we want to make sure that all our doctors are well paid and aren't overworked and enjoy, they got in it to heal people, hopefully. And if you want, to make more money and you want to be busy, and as long as it doesn't, you don't hurt people and it doesn't affect the 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 health outcome, then I would imagine that there would be doctors that would want to be in a very busy practice, and would probably want to see patient after patient after patient after patient. Hey, more power to you. But as soon as if it's determined that 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 number of patients that you're taking care of is creating bad effects, then that's something that we can all deal with and talk about and work on and fix. But also, if the patient, you in the center, have the ability to freely pick your doctor, you're not going to stay with a doctor that can't remember your name, who doesn't have time to see you, doesn't have time to like explain things to you. So that's part of like the free market people are going to like that. That you should be able to have the right to, at will, just go to another doctor. I don't like you. You're, whatever. You're too busy. You got too many patients. I'm not going to deal with this. And so that's the market at play. That we still get a bunch of doctors, you get more than we got now, and you can pick your own doctor, then and it's not a big hassle, then doctors are going to treat you as a patient differently than they do today. So that's we want to make sure that we're taking care of doctors and healthcare providers, nurses and surgeons and all the rest. Um, and because the government is really good at collecting taxes, that's why they're going to manage the trust fund. Now, we're going to make sure that there's no double dipping, that they're not going to use these funds that's in this trust fund to pay for bombs and, you know, debt. And no, 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 no. This is going to be a lockbox, and we are going to have to enshrine this into the Constitution. And that's part of what's going to make this a very big um, endeavor, is that it will be impossible when we implement the American wellness system for Congress people, for lobbyists, for the president to ever dip into that trust fund to pay for anything else other than healthcare. So just just keep that in mind. So the trust fund management, centralized trust fund managers, centralized trust fund manages tax revenue and distributes payments to healthcare providers. This will also the fraud detection, which is what we were talking about the malpractice, right? Is that the Department of Justice is going to ensure that if there is fraud, that you're going to jail, but Okay, because if you're going to rob out of the value of healthcare because you want an extra Mercedes, we're going to catch you and you're going to go to jail because there's too many patients out there that need attention that where no, absolutely not. You are not going to steal from this system. You are not going to commit fraud in the American wellness system. And we are going to put the full force of the Department of Justice to catch you because we are talking about one of the five pillars of value for citizens in this country. That's almost akin, in my mind, to treason in the way the American wellness system is going to operate, because that is you. So you're not welcome. If you want to commit fraud, go to the private insurance and let them reward you for that. You're not going to get away with it in the American wellness system. So resource allocation ensures funds are used appropriately with regular audits and transparent reporting. So all of this is going to be available for the public to read and see and analyze but just keep in mind, nobody's going to be able to pull your name up and see what healthcare you're getting. No, that's not what the transparent reporting means. It's how much are we paying doctors as a not doctor by name, but how we're paying and what we're paying the average American citizen, um, think tanks, all the rest will be this. It's transparent. There's no opaqueness to this. Um, Reduced administrative cost replaces multiple government programs, Medicare, Medicaid, workman's comp. Now you'll see the VA there, and I know this is kind of like can be a touchy thing, and I don't want any veteran out there who loves the VA to think that they are going to lose that. The idea is that we're talking about the future, and the way it could work right now is that if you enjoy your VA doctor and you enjoy the VA and you enjoy being around other veterans, I don't see any reason why we couldn't keep the structure, but it just be paid for out of the American wellness system. Ultimately, going forward, hopefully, the type of care that is provided by the American wellness system will be so good that the a veteran won't have any qualm about receiving care in a regular public hospital. So um, that's something that we can all discuss. But ultimately, you know, the idea that we're paying separately for poor people to get care, elderly people to get care, people injured on the job to get care, that's all going to go away. We're all part of the same pool no matter what. And then the other idea is that the American wellness system negotiates bulk purchases for significant drug savings to lower the overall cost. Because when the way it works now is that we have all these different healthcare, Medicare, Medicaid, prescription Part D, Part C, Part Z, United Healthcare, Blue Cross Blue. All these people are negotiating with the drug company separately, and part of um, Medicare for all was just that, and a lot of people are not aware of this, is that the power resides in all of us being part of the same healthcare pool. 350 million people negotiating as a whole with drug companies. And I understand that if this were to ever take off, that they're coming for me. The drug companies are going to come for me because there is no way they're going to give up their ability to charge American citizens 10 times what they charge people in other countries. They're going to come for me. They're going to ruin this. They're going to send think tanks after this. Bring it, because you know what? If your goal is to extract wealth from the American citizen who's sick, you are my opponent. You are mammon. You're working for someone else other than the American citizen. And I already see, I've already been warned of how hot this is going to be. I don't care. I do not care. Insulin has been on the market for how many decades? And the fact that that is a profit center for some companies still, no. So let's see here. Give me 1 second. Looking here. Okay. Approximately 7 million Americans rely on insulin daily. 7 million. Okay, given the average patient uses about 155 vials per year, we can ballpark the annual consumption at approximately 1,085 billion vials nationally. Okay, now that's what, a trillion? That's a trillion vials yearly the American citizens are consuming. That should be cost as much as Tylenol. And that's what's going to happen. The American wellness system is going to negotiate to buy a trillion vials of insulin. If I'm reading this right, if I understand that 1,085 billion vials is a trillion. So a trillion vials we're going to buy yearly. We're going to buy the production of a trillion vials. We're not going to nationalize it. We're not going to make our own factories, even though, I mean, some people could argue, some socialists, you could make, but see, I'm not a socialist. I believe in private property and currency. So don't call me a socialist, because I'm not. I'm a Christian capitalist. Capitalism is a tool. It is not a religion. I do not work for capitalism. Capitalism works for me. It is a tool like a hammer, and I'm the one holding the hammer. So that being said, don't you dare call me a socialist, because I'm not. I believe in currency and private property, so you don't get to use that term on me. You can call me a progressive all you want, because I am. But I am no socialist, and I get kind of hot about that, because I'm not a socialist. I'm capitalist. I'm Christian capitalist. So that being said, we're not talking about nationalizing drug production, even though I understand that there are some people out there that make that argument. And that's not where I want to go with this. It's not where I want to go with this. But because we're going to have a market, a free market. However, we're going to leverage 350 million citizens purchasing insulin as a group. That makes complete sense to me. Isn't that what we're taught, like in economics 101, is that when you buy more of something, you buy like, 200 rolls of toilet paper at one time, each roll of toilet paper costs less. Why would we not do that for healthcare, for pills, for drugs? That American citizen, no, you're going to have to make that. If you're going to come at me and you're going to start talking about all the reasons why this won't work, you're going to have to explain to me why we should not take capitalist principles and leverage them for the benefit of the American citizen. And I'm willing to have that discussion with whomever out there wants to have it, because that's where we're going to save money. Okay, so just as a wrap up here, in the short term, because like I said, this is 365 revolutions. Um, this is a long discussion of how all of the five principles of the uh, of how we're going to defeat manufactured suffering rests. The five principles, they all work together. But we're going to stay on focus for this next week or two or three or however long it takes to discuss in detail the American wellness system. This is day one of this conversation, and it's kind of an overview so that you can see how the whole thing operates. And then we will have daily conversations. We'll start with how one thing will work, and I'll explain it in detail. Can show you the algorithms and all of it. Um, but just as a brief general introduction, how the American wellness system will operate. Is that I hope you can see that this is not just something that I pulled out of the seat of my pants. There's a video on my YouTube page from 8 years, 10 years ago about me trying to explain this. And I've been working on it ever since. And as a closing, as we start wrapping up for this day for today, and I'm gonna, depending on what goes on in the background in the evening, the later it gets in the evening, the louder it gets here, and so I'm kind of limited as to what type of the day I can live stream. But that being said, um, what how I got this idea of a tax and that everyone gets health care is that my beloved mother, who I miss very much, she passed away about 30 years ago, and she had an idea, and this is part of the system. Is that, think about this, right? Hang on one second here. Let me switch back here. There we go. Is that if you wanted to ensure that every car on the road, car, truck, bus on the road, had insurance, you apply the cost of insurance to gasoline. Go to the gas station, you put gas in your car, you've just paid for your insurance. And every car, bus, truck needs gasoline, diesel, unleaded, leaded, all of it, right? So in order to make the car go down the road, you got gas in it. So therefore, you apply a tax to the gasoline to pay for the insurance. How many gallons of gasoline do we? Because we live in the future, I can ask Copilot here. How many gallons of gasoline are sold yearly in the United States? I didn't like the. How many gallons of gas sold annually in U.S.? 135.73 billion gallons of gasoline. Now, I okay. Then now it would be easy. I'm not going to waste time because I'm just pulling this out of my rear end right now. But if you were to figure out how much we spend on car insurance a year and divide it by that number of gallons, it'd probably be what, maybe 10 cents extra a gallon. But then there would be no fault. There would be no people who don't have insurance to get in wrecks. Everybody, all the cars, so you want to add, you want to make sure that every car is insured. You apply the tax to the gasoline. So therefore, if you want to extrapolate that, everybody in the country buys stuff, right? Everybody eats something. Even if you get it, you're homeless or you're poor and you get it through a food bank, somebody gave it to the food bank, which means somebody bought it, right? Even if it's bought at wholesale and then, they can't sell it and then it gets donated, somebody paid for it and paid tax on it, which goes into the health care system, the American wellness system. So you take that same principle, the gas is what fuels the car, what fuels the humanity, what fuels the human, food, water, right? Entertainment, GDP. So if you live in a capitalist system and you do something that causes GDP to go up, there's a tax on that. And that goes into the American wellness system. If you're homeless and you have no job and you're still eating, there's you go to a homeless shelter, all of that, the electricity, all of that, there will be a tax. Anything that you pay for that increases GDP, there'll be a tax on. Doesn't mean there'll be a 20% tax on everything. Some things will be lower tax, some things will be higher tax. You go and you buy $1 billion, $1 million in funds through a hedge fund manager, that increases GDP. Now, perhaps if you buy certain funds, such as like fast food companies or alcohol or cigarettes, those companies are causing they're producing a product which increases healthcare costs. So perhaps there'll be a higher tax on those stocks when you buy them through a hedge fund company or online day fund trading. But all of that is going to pay for, when you think about the enormity of the amount of money, the amount of goods and services that our awesome country produces and consumes. Over time, if people make better decisions about what they're consuming and what they're doing, prescription drugs, as this whole thing works as a complete system, then the healthcare costs will come down, and so will the tax. And that's basically it. And that's how we're going to end manufactured suffering in the healthcare industry. We're not going to make doctors work on more patients than they want. We're not going to make people who don't want to go to public hospitals go. They can buy extra insurance and then they're on their own. Okay? We're not going to make anyone suffer on purpose. No. We're done with that. Manufactured suffering is going to come to an end. We're going to battle that. We're going to fight it. And we're going to end manufactured suffering in the United States. There's no reason in 2025 that we are having systems that are causing hardship and suffering for the American citizen. That's going to come to an end. And I'm going to go down swinging. And all of this is from a nobody from nowhere. Why haven't all of these universities, why hasn't Harvard, why aren't they on the TV every day talking about stuff like this? Why? No, what's going on? It's on purpose. The reason your life isn't getting better is on purpose. And these people out there have lost their minds. They've gone too far. And if I, a nobody from nowhere with a high school education from 1987, can come up with these ideas to this degree, and you're not being given an alternative explanation by all of these trust funds and universities and government officials that are making billions of dollars a year, what is going on? I'm nobody. No, absolutely not. So this should shame the next 362 days should shame Harvard. It should shame the people in government. It should shame the trust fund, the think tanks and the public relations. It should shame people that just some idiot out in nowhere can do this and come to you and say, hey, look, here's an idea. And you're not, we just had an election. Where was this plan? Where were the details presented to you by these people with hundreds of people, 100 people on their team? And I'm doing this all by myself in a little room surrounded by 4 dogs, eating beans and rice. And me, just nobody from nowhere, can come up with this and present this to you with love and passion and nobody. What is going on? So that being said, because I just got a little hot there, I'm sorry, is that all of this comes from love for you, for my neighbor, because we are all being deceived by a force outside of ourselves who is lapping up all our suffering. Even if it's just 5,000 people sitting in a room somewhere, all the people in the world that matter, even if it's just these people and there really is nothing else out in the universe and it's just us on this little mud ball and we're in charge of our own, nobody else is affected, even if it is just those 5,000 people, those 5,000 people are not us. They don't want to know us. They just want to lap it up. They want to be the 5,000. But I personally believe that those 5,000 people are working for a force outside of us. So just know that I love you. I'm just nobody from nowhere. If I can't find a way, nobody else will. And I love you very much. God loves you. I love you. We are both rooting for you. I'm here to pray for you. My email's on my website. You just send me an email. I promise you, I will return it. If you'd like for me to come visit you and talk to a group, even if it is just 2 people, I'd be more than happy. If I can get on the bus and get to you, I will come. And I will bring the receipts. And if you hear this and you have a little channel on your own, I'd be more than happy to Zoom call you and talk to you about this and answer any questions you have. This is, but again, just as a reminder, if you go to my Substack page, which is linked everywhere, it's not hard to find. It'll take you right to my essay, Manufactured Suffering, the Reason We Can't Have Peace. And it is 70,000 words of healthcare, education, housing, voting, and justice, and how we can defeat manufactured suffering on those 5 pillars of American citizenship. And every day, rain or shine, I'm going to get on this and we're going to talk about it. And I hope that I can build some steam. And all I want to do is have a seat at the table and talk about these things. And if I can scratch out $400 a week doing that, I mean, I talked yesterday about the 3x5 card. I'm not a grifter. I'm not looking to be rich. I would love to be able to, talk to you about all of these ideas. And if I can also talk to you about Jesus and love and the future and humanity and a little bit of philosophy in addition to this, I'll go to my grave happy. So just know that there's somebody out there rooting for you, thinking about you, even though I don't know you, my invisible neighbor. And I love you so much. And God loves you. And we can make a change for the future for ourselves. We don't have to live in the past. So just know I'm here. Email me. I hope you check out my Substack page. Like and subscribe. Hit that like button. Subscribe to my channel. I've got 22 subscribers. I'm non-monetized. I don't need so just know that I'm working for you. And I'm really excited to go into depth in this. We've got education, housing, voting, and justice. And there's detailed plans on what we can do to make change. And so I wish you and yours the very best. May peace and blessings rain down upon you from on high. And if you can do one nice thing for some strange person out there in the world, I hope you will, because that's how we'll make the world better. And again, Daniel, if you're out there, I love you, and I couldn't do this without you. And just know from the bottom of my heart how grateful I am to you. And so I will see you all either later today or tomorrow. Same bat channel, same bat time, maybe, hopefully. And just take care, everybody. I love you very much. I love the Lord. I love the Lord. He's my friend beyond the end. I love the Lord. He's my friend.